I kind of had to go away to kind of get better, let's say. The whole thing up to that point of where it was just a kind of scramble to stay relevant. Is your hat?
Yeah.
Children. It's a lovely day here in Argentina. This is the breakfast table.
I'm just eating an orange.
Just enjoying coffee and breakfast, even though it's like 1 p.m.
We're hearing reports that a former member of One Direction, Liam Payne, has died after falling from the 3rd floor of a hotel in Buenos Aires.
He was kind of both wise and sort of a young soul at exactly the same time. He had this kind of old bones about him.
Dead at a young age and extraordinarily famous at an extraordinarily young age. Liam Payne became a global superstar at a time when most of us are taking our GCSEs, getting drunk in parks and making mistakes. But crucially, those mistakes were made in private and not on the Daily Mail's sidebar of shame. It's something I spoke to one of Liam's One Direction bandmates, Niall Horan, about in an interview we recorded last year.
As a 16, 17, 18-year-old guy, I think of myself, right? I made mistakes. Yeah. I made a lot of mistakes. I got to make them in private. I didn't have the glare of the Daily Mail pointing at me. I didn't have all of these people around me, like this apparatus that exists, I guess, to insulate you in a way, but also, like you said, to sort of take care of you, help you, assist you with all the stuff that's going on. So what did that mean for you and your kind of, development and like growing up?
Yeah, it was obviously a very different very different formative years to most people. We were in a bubble, and we were just, the circus was going into towns and leaving it, and there was people around doing stuff. We just probably had to grow up quicker. Like, as you said, you probably got to make some of your mistakes in private. I don't know if I made a ton of mistakes, but if I did them publicly, probably. And that's a very different thing for a 17, 18-year-old to deal with. I've always been a bit carefree and just kind of gone with it. With everything, to be honest with you.
I get that vibe from you.
Yeah, I just I'm not a bad person, I don't think. I might have made a few mistakes, fair enough, and that's that. We all do that. And I could live with that and just going plodding along, taking every day as it comes. But yeah, probably subconsciously, because the shielding and that we had to do, in our lives, if we wanted any sort of privacy, it probably matured you in a way that you didn't realise. And probably some parts of my emotions or whatever probably got left behind for a couple of years, and I'm probably catching up still. I don't know. We're yet to find out.
The overnight mega stardom experienced by One Direction is a unique phenomenon. It's unique to observe, let alone experience firsthand. Here's Niall again, talking about something that happened when he once tried to go out shopping.
Are you able to sort of like walk and go and get a pint of milk or go for a pint and all that kind of stuff? Like what changes for someone who hasn't experienced it?
Yeah, I think the height of 1D, in hindsight, I probably could have gone more places. But the fear of going somewhere and getting pictures and autographs every step, because there was periods where you go out and you wouldn't get 5 yards outside the door and it'd be cars pulling over on the street in countryside, or you go into the pub and everyone is looking at you, or anything. I remember one time I stupidly went to Westfield in Shepherd's Bush, and honestly swore to God, I was like, I'm going to die in here. I'm never getting out of here.
Outside, there's more people coming to Westfield. They're swarming.
It was like Shaun of the Dead or something. But yeah, no, I remember it was probably the fear of that kept me in, and I probably became a bit of a recluse in ways. Early doors, probably I'd say 2012, 13, that kind of world. 14 maybe as well, where it was just kind of it was probably all in my head. Became a recluse because of the thought of going out when I probably could have. Because in hindsight now, I literally live the most normal life that I could possibly live in the scenario I'm in. I do my I know this sounds stupid because there was a period where I couldn't do any of this, but go to the shops and buy my own stuff and make my own dinner and do the washing when I need to, and just general stuff. there was a period where if someone said to me, do you want to grab a coffee or do you want to go for lunch? I would have said, absolutely not. And now, like, you know, was I right to have been so quiet and reclused? You know, with hindsight's a wonderful thing.
The pressure of millions of fans, global media, is all-encompassing, surrounding, suffocating. It provokes questions about duty of care from the media platforms hosting these celebrities, from the fandoms demanding more and more of those people's time, and leads to people like Chapel Roan explicitly requesting that her fans respect her privacy, and indeed the relationship between an audience, the media, and a celebrity. Our desire to know ever more about celebrities' lives drives and feeds the media to cover them. It's a toxic cycle, let alone when it's placed within the context of a clicks at any cost environment. The following excerpts are from Liam Payne's appearance on Logan Paul's podcast. The interview took place after Liam Payne had gone public about issues with his mental health. With hindsight, that interview is irresponsible and exploitative. It has the feel of someone in a pub who's had a few too many, and instead of being put in a taxi home, the surrounding drinkers trip him up on his way to the door, elbowing each other in the ribs and laughing at his expense. Not least because it came after Liam Payne had made the following appearances in the national media.
I believe whatever he felt that he did, he had the right to do. I also felt there were 3 losers in one fight. He didn't know, being Chris Rock. He didn't want to do what he had to do, being Will Smith. And she did nothing, being Jada. And it's a very sad thing, but there was a powerful moment for me to sit and watch one of the world's best emoters ever we've seen speak from the heart. And I would rather take the beauty out of the situation than take the pain. But I had to leave my chair, I'll be honest with you. It cut me really deep. And I don't get deep about these things, but I'm a big movie fan, I'll be honest with you. And out of a horrible moment, there was a little bit of beauty in what came on, and I'm sure everyone's very apologetic about what happened. Shouldn't have happened. But ask yourself, what would you do in the same situation? I don't know how we'd all react. We're all very human, right?
I'm back. My last upload was May the 1st or something like that. 31st. Wow, it's been a while. I just took a little bit of time out, actually. Sorry for the MIA. You guys know there was a few reasons why I did that. And I just need to take a little bit of time out for myself, actually, because I kind of became somebody who I didn't really recognise anymore, and I'm sure you guys didn't either. I kind of had to go away to kind of get better, let's say. The whole thing up to that point of where it was just a kind of scramble to stay relevant.
Dr. Charlotte Armitage is a psychologist from reality TV show Big Brother. Her insights into duty of care and addiction are worth listening to here.
I think the thing with X Factor, especially back then, is things were quite different. I think there were duty of care processes in place, but the landscape of duty of care has changed quite significantly in the past 3 or 4 years, really. So how it would be delivered and done now is very different to how it was done back then. And I think certainly people who are young, I think certainly young teenagers who are coming into the public eye would have very in-depth psychological assessments to ensure that they're psychologically robust enough, to ensure that they've got the right support around them, and they'd be offered ongoing support thereafter. And this just wasn't the process or the way that it was done, or certainly not to the level it's done now, 15, 16 years ago. We need to make sure that people are robust enough to cope with the ramifications of being on screen. It's quite difficult because, if people are applying for a television show, they want to do that show. And no matter what you say, I mean, some of the briefing documents that are read to people are quite frightening, but people still are happy to sign them and move forward. In order to move forward now, ideally in a psychological assessment, you'd want people to be evidencing that they have a set of healthy coping strategies, that they've experienced some adversity and they've evidenced how they cope with that adversity previously. And if they previously coped by using maladaptive strategies, so drugs or alcohol, there's a higher chance that they may reach for that again. Ultimately, I think when you've got a child who isn't equipped for going into the public eye and the spotlight, they're then searching for things to help them manage the stress and the distress that they might be suffering with and dealing with. And I think it can, again, it's quite lonely and isolating because they maybe don't have anyone they can talk to who's going through the same thing that they're going through, who, friends won't recognize what they're going through because on the outside it might seem that they're having the best time ever, and friends might be saying, well, I'm working a 9 to 5 and you're jetting off around the world, and they may not have that sympathy and empathy, so they might not be able to understand how difficult it can be, and therefore people do end up turning to drugs and alcohol. They can afford it, it's available, they don't have to get up for work the next day. This is what I was saying about routine. Routine is really important in our lives. Having to get up, having that purpose, having that routine, having to do something the next day. If all of a sudden you've got this abundance of money and of free time, that's a recipe for disaster. If you're not careful and you don't look after yourself well and you haven't got the right people around you, unfortunately that can spiral quite easily.